Hey y'all, Wire Shred here. Today I wanted to discuss AI in K-pop. It's been a novel concept for the most part and has seen most of its utility in the past year or so, a trend which has me increasingly concerned. There aren't many things I am passionate about like AI, but I don't want anyone to be confused when I begin my tirade, so let me be clear. The concepts that stands use interchangeably with AI aren't actually AI. Examples are KDA, which is a virtual girl group made up of digital members designed, animated, and voiced with real people behind them. Plave and Mave, again, virtual groups made up of digital members designed, played through motion capture, and voiced with real people behind them. Eyes? I think that's how it's pronounced. The self-proclaimed AI counterparts to the aespa members are simply roles they play conceptually in the lore. They aren't actual AI. They are designed, animated, and voiced by real people. So what is actual AI, and where can we see it utilized in the K-pop sphere today? Artificial intelligence, in its truest form, where machines can execute tasks completely on their own, doesn't exist yet. But the version that is present in today's age is essentially a machine trained on a whole lot of data. I mean, like, the entire internet's worth of data, which it uses to identify patterns and complete tasks that a human requests. Examples are ChatGPT and Midjourney. The former, for example, was fed about 300 billion words systematically scraped from the internet. Books, articles, websites, and posts, including personal information. So if you've ever posted online in text form, it's a good chance ChatGPT has analyzed the syntax, grammar, slang, and even the tone you used, allowing it to regurgitate a similar response whenever you ask it to do your homework. But for today's topic, I will be mostly talking about the AI trained on artwork and how exploitative it is. The biggest issue with AI is the information it learns from largely doesn't have the consent of the artists to be used, meaning that an AI-generated artwork can feature signature styles from an artist who didn't even know that their work was being used to train a machine in the first place, leaving their characteristic technique stolen with no credit or compensation. It's a violation of intellectual property and infringes on an artist's ability to find work, because comparing the cost, monetarily and temporally, to a machine, it's a no-brainer. An artist might need a month to finish a deliverable, in which they need to research the specific area they're making a piece for, sketch up drafts, send to the client, amend changes as necessary, and then repeat the process for how many pieces of art that was agreed upon with the client. AI? 2 minutes, if your computer is slow. K-pop companies are currently jumping at the opportunity to circumvent artists and obtain art in a fraction of the time and cost. But that's not even the end of it, because AI-generated art relies solely on existing datasets to create new pieces. It can't truly make art. It can't innovate or bring new perspectives, as it is fundamentally repurposing styles and concepts. In plain terms, it just scrambles up art that already exists. It can't do anything new. Accurately understanding when art is AI generated isn't generally hard, as of now at least. It only requires close inspection to identify inconsistencies like mismatching lines, irregular lighting, unrealistic textures, and other things a human artist would avoid doing altogether. Obligatory disclaimer: no hate to any of the groups mentioned. I seriously doubt any of them were in the board meeting when the idea of using AI was brought up. Now that the groundwork is laid out, let's point out some examples, shall we? Speaking of AI idols, Novice was going to be the first official one of its kind, at least in K-pop. Set to debut at the VR concert at Kwangya during the SXSW festival, Lee Soo-man, the CEO of SM at the time, released a statement saying, "Novice, who has thus far only appeared in the form of CG in aespa's music videos, will be showcased as her own AI artist." All of this was announced before SM promptly forgot about her. The issue is that the SXSW festival came and went in March of 2023 with no word about Novice or a potentially delayed debut. Granted, if you're an idol under SM, you can expect to be forgotten about by your own company. But that time frame is especially important. See, SM had a very rocky time in 2023 with their internal affairs, culminating in Lee Soo-man selling his stocks to Hybe and bouncing out of the company. I imagine that with his departure, so too was the idea of debuting Novice, since it's been more than a year with no further updates about her. But I just mentioned a list of virtual idols in the beginning that aren't considered AI, yet I include Novice as the first example. What gives? Well, there's a very clear distinction with her case. SM informed the public a lot about the details surrounding her, such as her voice, which was sampled from 12 different voice actresses and mixed to form a unique tone. They also emphasized about how she'd be able to communicate with fans in real time, which would only be a point of achievement to bring up if there's no singular person behind her, voice-wise or playing her out through motion capture, but completely on her own, like AI. And while SM never went through with her debut, it did set a precedent of where their mindset is with their creative direction. You're going to see SM a lot on this list, and to make it easier, I'm going to compile all of their AI-related shenanigans in one section. Looking at it from a bird's eye view, it makes sense that SM is the biggest perpetrator when it comes to AI in K-pop. Most of the groups under their label have concepts with a lot of lore and feature themes or objects that aren't realistic, which can be solved pretty easily by typing in a prompt and using whatever is vomited out. Currently, their biggest artist, aespa, has had the most overlap. Sure, their lore has always contained the motif of a metaverse with parallel entities that resemble a futuristic idea of AI. But SM hadn't integrated the actual use of AI into their rollouts until recently, most memorably with the Supernova music video. And yes, it is AI. Before anyone tries to fight me on this, SM confirmed it through a Naver article, which I'll link in the description. The reason why the picture looks so terrible on screen is because the article is originally in Korean and the Google Translate butchered it. Not enough that we don't get the point, but you know. And fans caught on pretty quick. I mean, it doesn't look real or even stylish. Well, it's not supposed to, I can hear Mai saying in my comments. The most common argument about why this version of AI is okay is because the music video is meant to critique the tool, showing how it gives an uncanny valley and is disturbingly unemotional. Personally, I'm not satisfied with that reason. Plenty forms of media critique a particular concept without using it. For example, dystopian films often critique surveillance without actually putting high-level surveillance on their real-life actors. The effectiveness of a critique often lies in its ability to make the audience think deeply about the issue. And this can be achieved through metaphor, narrative, and symbolism rather than direct representation. But if you look at the reaction to the Supernova music video, most people just find the use of AI funny rather than the supposed critique it's meant to be. But perhaps you're one of those people who believe that while the message didn't get across, it doesn't change the original intent. And I would agree. Unfortunately, pieces of media are remembered for their popular perception rather than what the artist intended. The more compelling explanation is that the aespa members actually consented to their faces being altered, which is the whole crux of this issue. See, I've been towing the line until now, because I wanted to wait until this moment to make my point more effectively. If you're more well-versed with AI, then you know the form I've been critical of is generative AI, rather than the face-tracking AI software that most people are familiar with. It's the same tool used on filters, the one people use every day with a full understanding that the modified version of themselves that they see on screen is of their own volition, and more importantly, not real. The same can't be said with deepfakes, but that's a whole conversation for another day. In other words, I'm uncomfortable with this use of AI, since it seemed to normalize it rather than critique it, but that's far from the worst example on this list. Hi, editing wire shred jumping in really quickly. It's come to my attention that AI was also used in the Armageddon music video, so there goes the critique argument, I guess. I mean, I've watched the music video so many times and there wasn't any mention of the supposed, rebuttal against AI, so I really don't believe that that was even the case anymore. But yeah, go ahead with the rest of the video. Next up, Suho and Wendy's Cheese music video. They opted to use the same face tracking software on not just themselves, but on several paintings as well, along with a disgusting amount of AI-generated art of heart-shaped cheese to space out the live-action and 8-bit scenes. Worsened by the fact it would have been so easy to get genuine pieces and stick them in there. There's no excuse here. And I don't imagine that the same company who is apparently critiquing the use of AI with Espa has had a sudden change of heart a week later and got a premium subscription at Midjourney for Suho's cheese. Clearly, SM has no issue with AI and are not above using it. That being said, the worst of the three, the AI-generated visualizer for Rise's Impossible. I mean, do I need to even say anything at this point? It's such a clear bastardization of real art, like plainly spitting in the face of people who dedicated lives to perfecting their craft, only to be replaced with actual dog shit. It doesn't even look good. There's no concept or focus. I can't imagine anyone willingly coming back to this video because there's no merit to it. And frankly, SM has a lot more infractions when it comes to this, but we need to move on already, so let's go to the second biggest fan of AI at the moment, Hybe. To start us off, let's address the elephant in the room and talk about 17. Yes, I know they're under Pledis, but Pledis is under Hybe, yada yada. More importantly, why is 17 the elephant in the room? Well, because of their Maestro release, which, much like Supernova, featured the use of AI and claimed to be critiquing it in much the same way. The difference is that I genuinely believe that this was their intention, especially in the teaser, that disclosed a portion of the footage was AI. 17's approach emphasizes the stark difference between a machine's replication and the genuine artistry of human musicians. The use of AI in Maestro is embedded with a narrative that enhances its critique. It's not a visual gimmick, but a part of the story being told through the music and the video. And yet, I condemn it all the same. Critiquing AI by using it might still inadvertently promote its use and unintentionally normalize its presence in creative fields, which could lead to a slippery slope where AI-generated content becomes more accepted and widespread. It's also important to consider that while 17 is clearly opposed to AI, they aren't against profiting off of its use. Other than 17, the creative team behind Illit seems dead set on including them in a lot of scandals this year, AI use being one of them. Except this time, there was no disclosure. In their highlight medley, under closer inspection, it's clear to anyone that much of it is extremely inconsistent. I've only used a few screenshots here to save time, but the video in its full duration has plenty more examples. It shows AI's reach has extended from music videos to teasers to visualizers to highlight medleys and beyond. There's not a single avenue that AI hasn't touched yet, including Hybe's own AI project. After announcing a new AI audio subsidiary called Supertone, Hybe released a statement explaining that the Shift service it plans to provide will give users the ability to change their voices in real-time conversations. While there are plenty more examples, I do want to get to my point eventually. With that being said, I'm warning everyone now. I am fully entering into speculation territory, meaning that I've noticed a few trends and have drawn conclusions that may or may not be correct. Only time will tell. Anyway, I think that companies have found themselves gravitating so heavily towards AI because fans have normalized it for them. What do I mean? Well, AI is a novel concept for companies, but not for the fans. It's a plausible hypothesis, considering how quickly technologies can be adopted when there's a perceived acceptance within a community. When fans generate and consume AI content, they send a message that there is a market and interest for such innovations. This can encourage companies to invest more in AI technologies, believing they are catering to fans' desires. I'm talking about the covers, where Stray Kids covers and mixes songs, or Blackpink covers Baby Monster songs via AI. Quick trigger warning here for self-deletion. Skip to this timestamp if you're comfortable with that content. The most insensitive version of this that I've seen yet takes the form of fans recreating the voice of a past actor-singer, one who tragically took his life in 2016. The specifics seem to be that fans sent well wishes to his surviving family using the AI-generated voice, which justifiably angered them. I can't imagine how cruel it would be to grieve a loved one and then have a computer-generated mess played back in your face when coming to terms with your loss. Obviously, most AI covers aren't nearly as heartless, but they are made with the same core principle: no consent. Or what about the AI-generated shorts and TikToks garnering millions of views? And how half the comment sections aren't able to differentiate its AI when the telltale signs are absent, like with the Hyunjin example dancing to NCT's baggy jeans. They're so commonplace, people feel comfortable sharing them with the idols themselves. It's Yeji as an example. During a fan call, Yeji was shown a deepfake of her dancing, riling up Mitzi's as a result. I don't even need to go that far. Even pictures of idols are being altered now using AI. This perceived acceptance can drive companies to integrate AI more heavily into their marketing and production strategies, which is why it's disheartening but not unexpected that there has been an upward trend of content that includes AI. I'm sure this is a sentiment that you've heard time and time again, but companies listen to the dollar. If they perceive no monetary disadvantage from AI's inclusion, then you can count on its cemented place in the industry. But before I end the video, I do want to make a last-minute effort to recover AI's name now that I've dragged it through the mud. Because while AI is disgusting to me, it is not worthless if used correctly. At the end of the day, it is a tool, and my feelings toward it all depend on how it's used. For example, the upcoming Beyond the Spider-Verse movie, which I'm really fucking hyped for, has used AI, but not in the way I've described here. Instead of replacing artists and graphic designers, it is aiding them by executing repetitive and minute tasks, leaving the users themselves more time to work on a greater scale, but more realistically to eat and sleep, because those working conditions they're under are actually horrendous. That aid extends to K-pop as well. You might have heard of a K-pop group called Big Ocean that debuted this year. They made a lot of noise because they are the first hearing-impaired group to ever debut, partly thanks to AI assistance. They use digital tuners and post-production in the form of AI voice technology to help them sing more effectively, using the voices they already have and embellishing them to be able to achieve the lifelong dream of these three men. Another story comes from a legendary Korean singer by the name of Kim Hyung-gun, who suffered a head-on collision while on his motorbike, leading to paralysis from the neck down. His paralysis had caused a decrease in his lung capacity that made it impossible for him to sing like he had with his bandmate at the time. That was until he became aware of a device called the ExoAbs, which helps to push the diaphragm and produce a larger sound. Originally, it was manually operated, but the upgraded AI version allowed for the assistance necessary to sing on stage again. And that will be the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to hear feedback in the comments below. Before I leave, I have to thank y'all for the 400 subscribers. It happened so fast, and I truly appreciate it. I promise to bring bigger and better content as reward. With that said, have a good one, y'all. Bye-bye!